foraging was probably my first little dive into the world of wilderness survival. I went 2+ weeks without eating before. I've made it up to 2.5 days without water before. When it comes to survival, things can get very ugly very fast. Naked and Afraid, I was on it 3 different times. I survived in South Africa for 40 days. I've eaten turtles, monitor lizards. I've eaten antelope testicles. I've eaten warthog brain.
When it comes to kind of survival skills, like how prepared do you think that most people are?
Oh goodness. And in terms of for a catastrophic event, unfortunately, not much. The whole prepper type thing seems to kind of be something that is actually coming a lot more commonplace nowadays. But a lot of people look at it and just think that people who go out of their way to be prepared or know all that survival skills, they kind of think they might think those people are a little crazy. But it's a great skill to have it because when the time comes that you need it, it's really a time when you really need it.
And it's definitely one of those things, like if you don't know it already, it's kind of too late.
Yeah, it's good to have a few basic skills, especially in terms of just emergency preparedness. Absolutely. You just never know when you're going to be in a situation where having that basic knowledge and that basic foundation is going to save your life.
So some of those basic things, like what are some things that you think that like, look, you should probably know this.
Well, when it comes to outdoor survival, just knowing what to do if you get lost and knowing just some basic ways to keep yourself alive for at least a couple days until a search and rescue team can come find you.
What do you do if you get lost? The only thing I've ever heard is like, well, follow water.
If you get lost hiking, honestly, the most important thing you can do is stay where you are. And I know that sounds contradictory, but people will come find you. If you are absolutely, totally, and utterly lost, if you're at that point where you're off grid and you're in a hiking trail and you have no idea where you are, stay put and figure out how you can survive the night because people are going to come find you within, you're going to get reported missing or whatnot. People are going to know what's up. But before any of that, make sure to always let people know you're going out for a hike. Let them know, hey, I'm going to be here. And that way, if you do get lost, they will know exactly where to go.
So in your kind of experience to help at least me put things in perspective, say 10 is I could go out into the wilds of the wildest places right now and be completely fine. And 1, if I'm 5 feet away from my kitchen, I'm probably not going to survive. Like where on that scale of 1 to 10 do you think that most people probably are?
I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I'll say 4, 3. I don't know. Most people I know cannot do can't even deal without like the basic, like without their phone. I don't know.
I think that honestly though, that's like a fair assessment. Like I grew up camping, hunting, fishing in Kansas and Colorado, and I don't know if I would last 48 hours. I really don't.
It's hard, especially being outside wilderness survival. It is a whole different territory. When you don't have the right equipment, you can die really quickly. It's scary. There's a lot of things that happen really quickly, like being too cold, hypothermia, and dehydration. And yeah, most people aren't prepared. And honestly, to be prepared, it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of research, and it takes a lot of time. It's an investment to be prepared in a scenario like that, just knowing how to survive in the wilderness.
So how did you kind of like how did you get into this?
I grew up a big nature lover my whole life, and it really stemmed. I started to work at a nature preservation several years ago, and I started to teach wilderness survival classes. I just got really heavy into it, and I would say that just all stemmed from a general love of nature. I grew up fishing, hiking, all that. And yeah, I think foraging was probably my first little dive into the world of wilderness survival and learning about edible plants and fungi, berries, all that stuff. So edible plant species that you can find outside.
That's always really worried me because I thought like, oh, if I get lost, I have no like, should I eat that? Can I eat this? Like, is there a way that you can tell, like, you can eat this, you shouldn't eat this? Because it seems like the consequences are like, if you pick the wrong one, it's really bad.
I highly, highly recommend don't just go out there and do it. It's definitely something that takes a lot of time and practice, and you wanna make sure you're eating the right thing. There are poisonous species in your backyard. There are deadly species out there in the woods, in the local park. You just always gotta be on top of your game. So, yeah, do tread with caution. I would say I have an entire I have a lifetime of experience with being outdoors. It's something I've always been very in tune with. I've always It takes a long time to learn that skill, and it doesn't just come from reading a book. It really comes from being out there and knowing how to properly identify plants and fungi, especially fungi. That's when you really can get dangerous because the fungi are, as we all know, are things that can make you very, very sick.
Now, did you have somebody kind of show you how to do a lot of those things? Because, like, I've looked at different species and stuff like that and in the book and things like that. Well, to me, it's like reading IKEA instructions in the sense of like, well, this could be this way, but it also could be that way. Like it's meaningless to me in a way.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the more you get out there and the more you look at plant species and learn how to properly identify, the better you will get. If you just walk out there with a book, and expect to know how to identify things, it doesn't work like that. It's something that comes with time. I taught classes on foraging and I did a lot of research. And Nick, even I am still not 100% sure. I am always very cautious, and even when it comes to things like mushrooms, especially, I am not fully comfortable, especially when I'm not in my like local area. I won't mess with things when I'm in a different state or especially different country.
We had a guy on here who was a fungi researcher, and he said the same thing. Is like, look, I've been studying these and have a doctorate in it, and there's still some stuff like I don't know exactly what that is. Right? Um, so
Yeah.
like when it comes to survival, I guess what would you say are kind of like the most important skills for people to be able to have?
There are your necessities, so food, water, and shelter. The most important thing that you're going to want to learn is how to get good shelter and how to make sure that you are warm enough to make it through the night. I would say shelter and fire, because that is the number one killer when it comes to a survival situation is hypothermia and weather conditions. Especially, let's say you're walking on a 70-degree day and it rains, you get wet, that goes to 50 degrees at night, your body temperature is what? Your body temperature is going to go down to like 40. So making sure that you're staying dry, that you have shelter to cover your head from rain and fire, and then water, and then food. But number one is always having a plan to know how you can get some form of shelter to where you're not going to go into a form of like hypothermia. It's the number one killer in these wilderness survival cases. People, they get too cold.
Shelters even before water? Me knowing nothing, I'd be like, well, I better find water because
Yeah, so Nick, there's this really popular rule. It's like the rule of three. It's a survival thing. So in extreme conditions, your body can survive 3 hours without proper shelter, 3 days without proper water, and 3 weeks without food. I mean, I went 2+ weeks without eating before. I've made it up to 2.5 days without water before, but I've always established shelter first because in a very cold or in a very extreme weather situation, you can perish without proper shelter. So shelter is always the number one priority, and then knowing how to do fire, or trying to know, like, always carry a backup fire making method, and being aware of ways to make fire in nature is very important to keep warm.
are we talking I gotta build myself like a 3-bedroom condo out here? Or do I just put some leaves on myself? Like, how good of the shelter does it need to be like, all right, that's good enough?
I would say the most important thing when it comes to shelter is familiarizing yourself with different types of insulation that you can put on the ground to sleep on, because the ground will sap your energy at night when you're sleeping on it. So being aware of where there might be dead leaves or moss, so you can put that on the ground and lay on that if you have to overnight it. And then just knowing how to create a very simple shelter. Probably the most simple shelter I can think that is super easy to learn is a lean to. Pretty much you can make one by taking a bunch of sticks and kind of, I'm sorry, I can't raise my arm, but I'm trying to show you.
You're okay, don't worry. For people who may be listening to this at home, Melissa hurt her, collarbone. So she can't raise her arm very well.
What a common way is people will take like two sticks like this, and then they'll take another one like that, and then you would put more sticks on it, and it kind of creates like a little tent shape. That's pretty much a very basic lean to.
Now, you mentioned like wilderness survival. Are there other kinds of survival?
There are all different types of survival. So I currently work for a magazine called Recoil Off Grid, and their focus is urban survival in the case of a catastrophic event where we lose the power on the grid. And it focuses on different types of urban awareness, urban survival situations.
I guess in urban survival, like what are the big things there that people should be aware of?
Well, civil unrest and basically a total shutdown of the government, I think, is the biggest fear that people have when it comes to that. So basically, imagine a situation where all forms of law enforcement and government go away completely, and you basically need to figure out how to survive in a every man for himself situation in an urban environment. And we would like to believe that humans would come together and work together, but when it comes to survival, things can get very ugly very fast, especially if people are in a situation where they're fighting for resources like food and water. So yeah, urban survival, it's a very scary situation. And that is why you kind of have these people that like, they'll stock up on ammo, they'll stock up on food. People look and go, oh, you're crazy. But gosh, if God forbid a really crazy situation happened where we lost, a form of, if the government lost control, or people, we got into this kind of.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and that's the kind of thing. I mean, look at the beginning of the pandemic when we had like not even a food shortage, but the idea of a food shortage, and look what kind of people did. I'm not one of those
Yeah,
like doomsday people necessarily, and if that's your thing, that's your thing. Whatever people want to do, that's your thing. But I do kind of have that feeling is like, oh, maybe we should kind of be ready for something. Like my wife and I, we've got earthquake kits in the house.
I think, I'm not a huge prepper myself. Like, I don't have this crazy bunker, but I do have some essentials. I do have some emergency food stashed away. And I think that people, most importantly, in terms of preparedness, should be familiar with basic medical and emergency response situations, and that you should always have a good medical kit on hand. I know it sounds crazy, but like in my car, I have a full med kit, I have a full trauma kit. Just make sure you have these, medical things on hand. I think those are, in my opinion, a very important thing to have in terms of emergency preparedness.
Now, for people like yourself, and this is a generalization, so keep that in mind, right? Like, are people afraid that these things are going to happen, or are they more just like prepared? Because for my example, like we have earthquake kits, but I'm not really worried about an earthquake. Do you think that for a lot of survivalists, like, are they more prepared, or are they really worried that these things are going to happen?
Um, Definitely just more prepared. I think there's this big misconception on like everyone, like there's a prepper that's just sitting there looking out his window blinds, thinking that something crazy is going to happen. No, the community is not like that. They're focused on being prepared and just in case something happens. I don't think, and it's kind of like if you're prepared, you don't have to be worried.
There's definitely something along the lines too of like you're crazy until you're not. Like, you're
Hmm.
basically crazy until you're a genius. Is how I feel a lot of that stuff works. Now, like for some of your experiences, you mentioned like 2.5 days without water, how many weeks without food? Like, how did you end up in these situations?
There's a Discovery Channel show. It is called Naked and Afraid. It's this crazy concept of a show that is focused just on primitive survival. They throw two people out in the middle of the wilderness, and you have to survive. They give you like you get like 2 to 3 items, and you have to survive completely. You have to survive with that, and that's all. And it's a very intense situation. Honestly, I don't think there's any other situation that could possibly be more intense than being thrown out in the middle of the woods with literally nothing. You don't even have clothes. And it's not meant to be like a provocative, sexy thing, because trust me, it is not sexy at all. It is like a disgustingly gross situation. It's meant to be all about survival. So you have to make like your own clothes or figure out ways to fight off the bugs. So that's my extreme experience in that realm, is being on the show Naked and Afraid. I was on it 3 different times. I survived in South Africa for 40 days with nothing but I had a knife, I had my bow and arrow, and then I did it in the Amazon jungle. I had a knife and we had a fishing line. And then I did it in the Florida Everglades, and we had a fire starter and a knife and like a pot. So very limited equipment every time, and it was very extreme situations.
The thing that I've always wondered about those shows is like, well, who's filming that? Do they have camera people out there?
Very limited camera crew. It is a sound guy, it is a producer, and it is a camera guy. So you literally have a crew of 3 people, and they get there around 10 a.m. and then they leave at 5 p.m. And then it's just you and a video camera and your partner for the entirety of the night. So it is very real. It's very raw. And yeah, you're out there alone. I've had situations where it's me and in one situation was me and 2 other partners, and we had a fire in our knives, and we could hear lions outside of our shelter, and there was nobody else in sight. So it is like a very real situation, and it is very scary at times.
Are they just eating in front of you? That's what I would be like. Bob, the camera guy's just got his granola bar sitting here, and I'm like digging in the mud for.
No, so the crew is not allowed to eat in you. They're not allowed to eat in front of you. They're not allowed to like smoke in front of you. No, that would be torture. Because yeah, all you're thinking about out there is it would be so mean. Well, I'm the one who signed up for it, so I guess. But yeah, that would be pretty lame if they were like eating stuff in front of us. But no, they're not even allowed to like drink water in front of us.
Like, I can just see, like, cute to Melissa 10 days in, starving, hungry, tired, cold, and, like, here's Bob with his McDonald's and 3 coats showing up, that kind of stuff. Um,
No, they feel bad for us, if anything. They actually always tell us like, "Oh, we feel bad for you." So I don't even think they would want to do that to us.
be pretty tough. When it comes to, like, things that people need, like, what kind of stuff would you recommend? Like, all right, you should have this, you should have this, you should have this, and I guess wilderness first and then urban.
If you told me like, "Hey, you're gonna need to survive in this area for like a few days before emergency crew finds you," I personally, with my skill set, would prefer like a waterproof fire starter, a good outdoor knife, and like a pot for boiling water. Like if I was, narrowed down to 3 solid items that could get me through a couple days, I would want those 3 items, because I can use that knife to build my shelter. I can use that fire starter to create fire and to create heat for myself, and I can use that pot to collect water and to cook food and to cook water to sanitize it. In urban, now I'm more of the wilderness survival type. That's more my specialty. But in an urban survival situation, I would probably want a good communicate. Well, it depends if I'm with people. I'd want a good med kit. I would want a way for I'd want some way to supply myself with water, and honestly, I would want a gun.
And look, we're not picking sides on the Second Amendment or anything like that, but like that's not really that. I thought that'd be the first thing that you said, to be honest with you.
Well, a gun would be my first choice. I just was trying to save it last to not sound like I need a gun, but yes.
Are you ready for some harder / listener submitted questions?
Oh, okay, yes.
What skill took you the longest to learn?
Ooh, probably being able to build and create a friction fire outside. Um, it involves knowing how to procure the right materials and use the right woods, and it also involves really a specific way, a specific technique to create a bow drill friction fire. That took me quite a while to learn how to do that.
Are a lot of those skills, are they hard things to do, or do people just need to you just need to know how to do it?
I would say it's about 90% experience. It's not necessarily hard, it's just tedious, very time consuming, and a lot of trial and error, especially when it comes to things like primitive trapping and friction fire.
And primitive trapping is basically kind of like building like rabbit snares or something like that, right?
Yes, yeah. And doing it out of things like natural materials. So when I say like primitive trapping, I mean building like an animal trap with like you have a knife and that's all you can use, and you're building everything from natural materials. It's very hard and very time consuming. You know, you see people make like something like these primitive fish baskets, and you'll see them do it on TV, and that something like that takes a whole day just to collect and find the right materials to make it, you know, not let alone another day to like weave it and make it properly. So everything, it takes time. It's not hard, but it just takes a ton of patience, time, trial and error.
Brains or brawn?
It's definitely brains. I would say, yeah, brains, 100% knowledge, patience. It's a mental thing. You have to have the right mentality. But endurance, I will say endurance and fitness is important as well, though. I don't want to dismay, you know.
This one might hit on the nose. Why do you keep getting injured?
Because I like to live a dangerous lifestyle. Yeah, it's a common. I mean, my hobbies are wilderness survival and like extreme mountain biking. So I guess when those two things combined, you know, downhill mountain biking and wilderness survival, it tends to be a kind of a recipe for getting injured.
Of the 3 places that you were on Naked and Afraid or other places that you've been to, like, what would you say is like, "Oh, this is the hardest place to survive?"
Hands down, hands down the Amazon rainforest. Rain is super hard to survive in because it's really hard to keep fire, and you need fire to boil water, and you need fire to cook food. I always tell people I would rather do 60 days in South Africa than 20 days in the Amazon jungle. It is so much harder to survive in a wet rainforest.
Most common mistake people will make.
Not learning how to properly do fire. I think fire, like I said, fire is my favorite part of primitive survival, and not knowing how to do fire because you just need fire for food. You need fire for water. I would say another big one is not getting shelter up in time, because if it rains, then you're screwed. If you don't have a proper roof over your head, you're just screwed. If you get wet overnight, you're going to freeze. Even if it's like 70 degrees during the day, you're going to be so cold at night if you do not get a shelter over your head as soon as possible.
Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, "Oh, this is it."
Yeah. So when I first did Naked and Afraid, I got lost in the Amazon forest. Um, I was looking for some food, and I got totally lost. And I started like doing circles, and it was so scary. I started thinking about my parents, and then I'm like, Melissa, what? And I had to stop and like tell myself, what do? You stay in place. Stay in place. This is what you've been teaching people for like years. Stay in place when you get lost. So I stayed in place. I found a log, I sat on it, and like 2 hours later I heard my producers were able to find me by calling my name. It was, yeah, that was the scariest I'd ever been in like a survival situation. And another time was in South Africa, when, like I said, it was me and my two partners, and we could hear lions chuffing. I mean, they were probably a ways away. We did have a fire, but we could hear them, and it was really scary. Like, when you hear we later found out that they were actually lions that had previously killed a ranger and a poacher. So we were pretty upset that they put us in an area with two man-eating lions.
Small oversight. Small
Yeah,
oversight on their part, right? Most dangerous animals, plants, or insects?
it's actually, believe it or not, it's the smallest things that will drive you the craziest out there. So I'm not particularly afraid of like larger animals, but it's always the little ones that would freak me out the most. Like when we were in the Amazon, we were in an area where the bullet ant was present, and they have like the most painful bite on earth. I would say, though, in terms of larger animals, probably, oh God, this is so bad because I would like literally go swimming in the water all the time. And the producers hated me because they thought I was going to die. But the alligators, I was like a very alligator infested area. And I would say that they're pretty dangerous, but I think people, the more you learn about animal behavior, the more you realize that animals, they don't want like anything to do with you. They just want you to leave them alone.
What is something that you see other survivalists or survival myth that is out there that you think like, oh, you can't, that's not the right thing?
That you can just create fire by rubbing two sticks together. But there's a ton of weird survival myths out there. Yeah, sucking, you can't suck venom, out of when a snake bites you. Yeah, that's a really big one.
Here's the one that's either a brilliant question, offensive, or just weird. Since the show is Naked and Afraid, what person, man or woman, is at greater risk of getting something snagged?
So definitely the man. In fact, there is like, I know that a lot of the Amazon tribes, they have actually like, it's a it's a contraption where they'll like tie a rope and they'll secure their penis and sometimes their balls. In the Amazon tribes, they'll secure it against their stomach because of fish potentially coming to nibble. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I've heard of
Um,
that fish.
One of my partners, when we were in the Amazon, he had his balls bitten several times. I would just hear him go, "Oh fuck!" Like I'd hear him like swear, and he'd be like, "I fire ant just bit my balls," and I felt so bad. So men definitely have much more exposed, and especially in a naked and afraid situation.
Would you say like in the survival communities, like, ooh, who would probably like, are men more equipped or women more equipped, or is it pretty much just equal?
I'm not just saying this because I'm a girl, but I do think that women have an easier time with the survival situation. And I think it's just because genetically our bodies are built to, we also have more fat stores than men. And from my experiences on the show, women tend to deal better with caloric restriction than men. And I think a lot of that is just set up in our biology. We also are, and I don't want to confirm this, but I've heard many times that women just have a higher pain tolerance because, of the fact that we have to give childbirth too. So I personally think that, at least on the show, it would seem that women had, the ones that I came across had a bit more of a easier time actually. And I will say that we also have just, I think throughout life, I know I personally had experience with like more dieting and more calorie restriction. So I was like prepared, compared to like one of my partners and one of the challenges who was used to eating like 4,000 calories a day. I was like, oh, this is just like an extreme diet. Well, not, I've never done that extreme of a diet, but you know what I mean? Yeah, I think biologically women's bodies are set up a little bit better to tolerate pain and to tolerate starvation.
Strangest thing you've ever eaten while out there?
Oh, there's been so many weird things that I've eaten. Well, let's name a few. I've eaten turtles, monitor lizards. I've eaten antelope testicles. I've eaten warthog brain, warthog eyeballs. I've eaten, all sorts of snakes, lizards, and that's just to name a few.
Which one tasted the best?
The monitor egg. It was like, so monitor lizards are these type of eggs found in Africa, and it could have just been because I was really hungry, but man, it was delicious yolk. I also had liver, like antelope. It was like the liver, and that was really good. And surprisingly, the warthog brain, to me, it tasted quite delicious. It was like this fatty tissue. It was kind of like, it's like weird because normally in my day to day life, I would not want to eat any of that stuff. But when you're hungry, it tastes everything kind of tastes like a delicacy.
That's pretty much all the questions that we got. Is what's kind of coming up next for you?
Well, Nick, I have a whole summer of mountain biking planning, and as of most recently, I'm getting ready for a Blade Show. I work for this company called Blade Show, and we are the world's largest knife show. And it comes to Atlanta, Georgia, June 3rd through 5th. And it's like 1,000 knife companies, tens of thousands of people there. You got swords, kitchen knives, there's like after parties, demos, and like a lot of blacksmith, all the forged people, all the people from the show Forged in Fire are there, and there's a lot of naked and afraid people there, a lot of outdoor knife, like a lot of outdoor celebrities come there. So if you like knives, you should come to Atlanta, Georgia, June 3rd through 4th, and I'll be at Blaze Show as well too. So people can come see me there. That's the big project in the work right now is our knife show. So
If you meet somebody else with the same personality characteristics as you, do you like them or not like them?
Ooh, that's that could be a whole other discussion. But I'm just going to say, I think as a general rule of thumb, if you meet somebody that has the same characteristics as you, you usually do not get along with them.
Yeah. Anytime I've met somebody who's like me, I have not liked them.
But then does it make you wonder, if you don't like them, why do people like you?
Maybe you just don't, maybe you're like projecting and you don't want to maybe make the realization that somebody else could be like you. Like, wait a minute, you can't be like me. I'm me. Or maybe you really don't like those qualities in yourself. Maybe you secretly don't like those qualities. And then when you're confronted by them, you realize, oh, I don't like that about myself.
Is it like how you got a haircut for this episode?
I didn't get a haircut. My hair just looks fantastic. And I can get my wife to back me up on this. Now look, we made this realization under the influence of edibles and alcohol, but we made the realization that I can mentally control my own hair. Like I'm serious. I can think of what I want my hair to look like for that day, and it will look like that. I can mentally control my hair.
I'm speechless. So, okay, make your hair part to the side right now.
No, I can't do it. It has to be after the shower. Like, okay, so for example, yesterday I saw myself from a certain angle and was like, wait a minute, am I losing some hair? And then this morning I was like, nope, I got to fluff it up. It's got to be full. I did the exact same thing, but just made that mental thought, and now look at it. Look how full it looks. I can mentally control my own hair.
I don't think that's correct, but hey, whatever. It's whatever you think.
I don't think that you should have a problem with it.
I don't.
The fact that I can do this, right? It's the only person in the world who can mentally control their own hair.
I still don't think you can control your hair, but hey, it's fine. It looks great.
Do you want me to get my wife down here?
No, not really.
Dawn, can you come here for a second?
Just
how long do you think? Okay. If I called her, let's start. How long do you think that she comes immediately? Absolutely not. Or do you think it takes her a while? Let's see. Oh, that's reasonably quickly.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She came pretty quickly.
yeah.
Can I mentally control my own hair?
Yep, sure can.
See that? She just said, "What a large penis you have."
So she just said whatever you wanted to hear.
All right, I've basically forgotten the whole rant that I was going to go. Oh, it's because I was watching my son and he was doing something that reminded me of me, and I realized, oh, I don't like that about myself.
Isn't that one of the scariest things, though, as we get older? Like the fear of turning into one of our parents, which happens inevitably.
Yeah, but I feel like that's what everybody does. And the harder you try to fight against it, the more that it's going to happen. Because once you become a parent, then you revert like your personality to the personality of your parents. And like, well, what did they do in this situation? And you just copy them. It's the same way we learn basically how to be people, is you copy somebody else and watch them. So how do we know how to be parents? Well, we watched our parents and now we become them. Oh, listen.
I think it's quite interesting. They're Deadpool.
It's not Deadpool. It's Coach Bruce Arians. Everybody thinks it's a shirt of Deadpool, and apparently it's not okay to wear it to work functions.
Is that really a Bruce Arians t-shirt?
Yeah, I got it for free. I'm not getting rid of a free t-shirt.
Sorry. All right. Shout out time. And these shout outs are for Bart Scott. Bart, if you're a listener, we're big fans of your work. And
what's with you and Bart Scott recently? Is there an anniversary? Or you just realize you remembered who Bart Scott is?
You know, you're like the sixth person to call out my my memory in like the last day. My wife seems to think I'm already developing early onset, dementia.
Really?
I could not. We were over some friends' house over the weekend. I could not remember who they were. Like I knew who they were, but I couldn't remember their names. It was the weird. And I wasn't drunk. I wasn't high. I just couldn't remember.
Wait, are they friends of? Wait a minute, though. Are they friends of yours, or are they friends of hers? And you got to go over there.
No, they're my friends of mine. It was a very busy weekend, though. We saw.
Wait a minute, they're friends of yours, and you just forgot who they were? Like, wait, did you like pull her aside? Like, hey, honey, can you help me get something out of the car? And you had to like go and ask their names?
No, honest to God, I just couldn't. I don't know what happened. I had like a mental block, man. It was the weirdest thing. So,
yeah, dude, you should probably go to a doctor.
I have a physical coming up. We'll see what they say. Hopefully everything is green and not red.
You getting the poke in the butt yet, or are you not that age?
No, I'm not to that point yet to where I'm getting a poke in the butt.
I haven't had a poke in the butt either.
I mean, I'm not like shying away from it.
Got nothing wrong about it.
I think it's important.
Okay, but when you get to the poke in the butt stage, do you want the doctor to be a man or a female doctor?
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I feel every man would say, yeah, give me the woman, until like you get the woman and then you realize she's done 1,000 of these and she doesn't care about your butt from anyone else's butt.
No, I would rather have a female doctor do it, only so that I could then just tell myself like, oh yeah, I've had a girl, put their finger in my butt before. And then just leave it at that and not give any explanation. And then somebody would say, how was it? And I'd be like, wasn't the best, wasn't the worst, it had to be done. So I actually would rather have a female doctor stick their finger in my butt than a male doctor.
I just think based upon physics alone and thinking about the size of a woman's hand or a man's hand, I mean...
It's a good point.
Yeah, I don't,
It's a good point.
I'm a gentle person. Point. All right, I don't need, sausage digits going up there. I'm good, man. I'm fine.
But, I mean, at your size, you would think that you would have a bigger butt hole than most men, right? Like,
no, I don't have a big downstairs. I mean... No, I don't. My waist and my legs aren't proportionate to my upper body. I mean, I don't think I have a regular size butt. First off, that's a question.
Do you think your butthole is proportionately bigger than other people's or smaller than other people?
I mean, I don't think buttholes are different no matter how big you are. I think you have a butthole.
No, not everybody has the same size butthole.
This might be the most pointless thing we've ever talked about in this show, but
there's no way everybody has the same size butthole. Everybody has to have it. There's no way, like, you think Shaq's butthole is the same size as yours or is the same size as mine.
It's probably not that much different.
You think Shaq has to have like different plumbing in his house?
Have you ever seen his wife? I want to know how that works. I mean,
that's incredible. That's a strong woman.
I mean, there's no way that they can actually be having sex. I mean, she is...
Yeah, dude, he's got like 10 kids, man.
The size of his leg is not even like fair. But anyways, getting back to the butthole thing, yes, I think everyone pretty much has the same size butthole.
No, I think it's proportionate to your body size.
Right?
Maybe. It's just like fingers. It's got to be the same as your fingers. Not everybody has the same size finger.
True. I mean, I just don't think... I don't think there's like... extra large size buttholes and extra small size buttholes. I think everyone's kind of in the same range.
proportionate to their body size. I would agree with you, but it's not like one size fits all that everybody just is made with the exact same size butthole. All right, you ready for shout outs?
No, but just because I'm thinking about buttholes now. So thank you. Buttholes, and buttholes. All right.
Did you know my son told me that my chair smells like farts? So I don't have a sense of smell. How can the chair smell like farts? I don't understand how that's possible. Like, does the fart seep into the fabric?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it does.
I mean, think about it.
How does any chair not smell like farts? Every chair would have to smell like farts, correct?
Yeah, I mean, just think about it logically. You sit on that chair at least 6 hours a day, and you sat on it for the last 2.5 years. It's going to smell like ass.
But then everybody's chair would smell like ass. It's not like just completely.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah,
I don't feel so bad about it.
You're not the only one's chair that smells like a steaming pile of dog shit.
Okay, good. All right, good. Just want to make sure I'm not alone.
All right, let's see here. Jenna LeBlanc, appreciate you. Shasta Simcoe, Moraham Boro, Malvina Paulus, Corey Alexander, Sun Stoneburner, Edward Cardenas, Abby Alford, Ivan Morgillo, and Ruby Van Wieren. Appreciate you all coming right after the butthole talk. But those are our shout outs for the week.
It's nice. You did a good job on that one. Not a lot of pausing. Seemed to be pronouncing everything correctly and clearly. You've gotten a lot better over the last couple of weeks, I feel like. I mean, you had some big stumbles with the shout outs for a while, which we had to like edit them and redo it. I feel like you're able to say people's names now.
I'm a one.
Can't remember them, but you can say them again.
I'm a one-trick pony. I stop for no man. You know what I mean?
Not a clue, honestly. I have no idea what that means.
I have no idea either, but it sounded good. See, I'm under the belief that no matter what you say, if you say it with confidence, you can get people to believe it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, as a former news reporter, I can tell you how many times I have absolutely no idea what's fucking going on. But if you just say it like you do, people are going to be like, guy's probably right.
All right, so let's see here. I got a couple of, cue it up, bangers for you.
God.
All right, what's a worse place to go into, Nick, for yourself? Let's say it's an 85-degree hot summer day. The deli section meat at Walmart or a Popeye's chicken?
I feel like this is a smell-related question that I have no answer to.
Oh no, it's an everything question. You obviously have never been to the deli counter at Walmart.
No. What's wrong? But what's the big deal about? I don't understand the question. Like, why is the deli counter at Walmart any different when it's warmer outside than when it's cooler outside? I've never noticed any particular difference. Now, if you're talking about the 4th of July, I'm not going to the deli meat section on the 4th of July, but I don't understand why does the heat have to do anything with it?
It really there was a study that was released, or probably a very biased study, on the worst places to be inside on hot days, and one of them that was on the list was Walmart, and it makes complete sense for many reasons. Not hating on Walmart specifically, but they're always very dirty. The clientele is usually not the best, and a deli counter in the middle of summer at Walmart is not a place I'd want to be.
Okay.
Are you going above it? You're going to say that you can't smell?
I literally have no opinion whatsoever. I mean, I just don't understand how. I feel like that study is some bullshit that somebody just made up, and they got some random guy with a smart sounding name to put his name on it. And then they're just like, okay, well, like, I hate studies like that, right? Did they go to every single place in the universe, right? It's like whenever we talk about the 10 best books or the 10 best movies, did you see all of them? Well, then it's just something somebody made up. I mean, this list of the top 10 podcasts has the exact same podcast on every single year because it's made by some intern. This study is bullshit.
I don't.
And quite frankly, you should have screened your questions better.
I don't
Okay, I've
disagree.
never chastised you about your questions before. I chastised my wife on Saturday and regretted that.
You also left me a fantastic voicemail, so thank you. I appreciate that greatly.
Got after it. I got after it this weekend. I'm pretty happy about it.
You did, as you should have. Do you want to discuss it in three? Can you describe your evening in 3 words or less?
No. I can describe it very quickly, but I partied so hard on Saturday that I was physically exhausted on Sunday.
I'm pretty proud of you.
I was exhausted.
All right, let's see here.
Okay,
let's move on. So I have two things that I want to ask you about. So one of them is, these aren't questions, but I want to know your thoughts. So we're gonna have two topics instead of another question this week.
Okay.
First there was a satellite image released of what appears to be a doorway on Mars. Have you seen this photo yet?
No. Why would there be a doorway on Mars?
It looked legit. I mean, for me being the space guy, I can tell you it looked real, and it was verified and authenticated by NASA as being some kind of unexplained something on the surface of Mars, and it looks like a doorway.
Is this going to be a man on the moon?
No.
Like, right? Like, is this going to be like, oh, the face of the man in the moon where it looks like a face? Or is this like, ooh, that could be a door? Because we know it's not a door, right? Like, if you're that advanced of a civilization that you're making doorways on Mars, you're not just going to leave that thing there like, oh, forgot about this.
I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Look at Watergate. You know what I mean? I mean, people make mistakes. It happens.
Martian Gate? Is this what you're trying to say?
Oh, my God. What if we just came up with something?
We didn't.
Oh.
I know you're excited, John, but we're not.
Okay,
we didn't. It's not a doorway. It's probably like a fucking rock. It's like when you see something across the street and you're like, oh, God. Oh, wait, no. It's like whenever they have bomb threats and it turns out to be like somebody's lunch pail that they left in a car. This is what this reminds me of.
Until it isn't. Until it's an actual device.
Which is how often?
Probably less than 1%.
Right?
All
it's not a door. It's like a rock on the ground. Right? What did the NASA Mars scientist say? Did he say it's a door?
They just said it was
unexplained.
unexplained.
First of all, it's a door on the ground? Why would there be a door on the ground?
No,
like, think about that. Like, the Martians were opening up the door, like a door handle, and they would open it up. That's not the way to go underground. You would have sliding doors. It would part like when you're walking into a grocery store and it catches the thing. So there would be no door handle. It wouldn't look like a door.
I think you're getting way too hot on this. I think you need to see the photo.
Just using logic. Let me look at this picture of the Martian door. Oh, I found Martin Door. It's apparently a garage door supplier located near me.
No, not the same thing.
What? That's it? That's the door?
You have to admit, it looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good if you had already convinced yourself of it. Otherwise, it looks like a rock. Like, what's
completely ruined bandanas for me. No offense to those of you who did it. Sorry that I called you a-holes. My number 3 is a good, comfortable pair of sandals.
I think you're underestimating the importance of good footwear in summer. I think so. It doesn't say swimsuit doesn't say summer to me quite as much as my number 2, which is a tank top.
Okay. If you notice, I didn't really have any shirts on there. I mean, the only shirt that I thought about putting on, or summer shirt, I guess, would be like a Hawaiian shirt. But I just have that in my honorable mention.
Okay. What's your wait? What number are you on? Your number 1?
I'm on my number 1, and I think it's pretty easy. But I know you don't have this anywhere on your list at all, which kind of surprised me. But you need a good pair of sunglasses. That's my number 1.
I would agree with you on sunglasses, but I wear sunglasses year round because I'm basically blind once I go outside. So that's the only reason I wouldn't agree with sunglasses. To me, my number 1 is flip-flop. Flip-flop is a summer-only clothing choice.
And I mean, your 1 and 2 primarily were summer only.
Yeah, that's why that really fits with the top 5 theme of top 5 summer clothing choices.
Well, I mean, you're the one who just, I mean, flip-flops are fine. I mean, they're obviously on my list, but number 1, I don't know. Because sunglasses have appeal, right? Yes, you use them in the summer, but they can also be used in the winter.
But you're not wearing, sunglasses aren't exclusive to the summer as much as a flip-flop is. Like, I've got sunglasses on in the winter, but I'm not wearing flip-flops. It can be freezing cold. Like, I wear sunglasses going skiing. I'm not wearing flip-flops going skiing.
Maybe you should try flip-flop skiing.
I don't think they have it. I wonder if they have barefoot skiing. It would be pretty cold on your feet, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm sure you can do it, but you're really going to regret that. Your feet basically have to be frozen in order to do that.
Yeah, we're good. All right, honorable mention time. Let's see, Hawaiian t-shirts. I have like a good, comfortable summer shirt. Like those dry fit ones almost that are nice and light. They're not heavy. Can wear them outside. You sweat and it kind of soaks up the sweat. You can keep moving on.
Okay.
Just a good summer t-shirt. Yeah, I'm not really too proud of anything else on my list. What do you have on your?
No, I don't really have anything great on my list other. It's really definitely like the top 5 things, and then it's kind of really falls apart after that. I'm sure there's probably some clothing for women that we're missing. But I feel like, I think like bandana for women, right? Like that's about as close as, like I assume, like if I was buying summer clothing for my wife or for a woman in my life, I would be like, oh, I guess I'll get her a bandana. That's what women wear in summer. And that would be my only knowledge of women's clothing purchases during the summer.
Should we have put beach towel on there? Is like a beach towel important? Is that top 5 worthy?
Well, you can't really wear it. That's what I thought about, like having a beach towel. I don't know. There's like those things that women wear that they put on over their swimsuits, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what those are called, though. Shirts?
Swimsuit towels?
No, there's not a towel. They don't wear a towel. They wear like the special swimsuit thing, right?
You're doing a great job.
They've got like the swimsuit shirt that they wear. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I do. I want you to try to explain it because it's hilarious.
I don't know what it's called. I'm okay with jean shorts on the 4th of July.
Nothing denim, man. Nothing denim spells summer at all.
It's got to be ironic.